welcome to episode 65 of Book Writing Tips, quick tips for new and seasoned authors, and I am your host, Alba Arango. In today's episode, I wanted to go over how to build up your email list / newsletter. And I will tell you, many of the writing conferences that I have attended, you will hear agents, authors, many people tell you that having an email list is like having gold. And yes, social media, yes and no, that it can be helpful, but it also can be not helpful. Most of you already know the algorithms for social media. They will put out your information to 10% of your followers. And then if you get engagement with that 10%, then they expand it to more. But if you don't, let's say you have 1,000 followers and they put it out to 100 of them, if only 5 or 6 of them respond, they probably won't put it out. And the other 900 of your followers will never see that post about your upcoming book event. However, an email list is something that goes right to someone's email, and they will at the very least see the email, even if they don't click and open it. But of course, the hope is that they want to open it. So with no further ado, let's talk about how you can build up and increase the following of your newsletter. Alrighty then. Today's episode will be in 2 parts as always. In part 1, I want to go over some basic newsletter / email essentials. So ways you are going to create your email, maybe what you might want to put in it. And then in part 2, we'll talk about ways to actually build up your following of the newsletter / email. So here we go. With no further ado, let's get down to part 1. What are some newsletter essentials? So for those of you who have never had a newsletter before, you will need to have some sort of platform that you go through. And the most popular one today for authors is MailerLite. And that is spelled MAILER, capital LITE. And that is the one that the most authors that are starting newsletters now are going to use. But there are other services. KIT, as in Kit, is a different one that is also popular. Some authors do choose to go through Substack. And if you are a journalist or if you're writing about current events, Substack actually might be the right one for you. But for the rest of you who are writing fiction or nonfiction, Substack, unless you are planning on doing some kind of, in the future, you're going to have paid memberships for your newsletter, I don't know if I would actually go through Substack. And I know that Jane Friedman did a fantastic article about newsletters, whether you should go through Substack or not that long ago. I think it's like a couple weeks ago. In fact, go through, if you do not follow Jane Friedman, you should totally follow Jane Friedman on one of her social media platforms. She puts out a lot of really amazing materials, and one of them was about this very thing. But MailerLite is probably the one I would look into if I was going to be starting one today. Kit is also a good one. Now, I personally have mine through MailChimp because when I started my newsletter 12 years ago, it was the one that authors were using. And so I went through MailChimp, and I still have MailChimp, but I will tell you that MailChimp has changed and it is no longer very popular among authors. And I know for me, I have more than once contemplated, should I change to MailerLite? It's hard because I have quite the following on MailChimp. So then if I change to MailerLite, am I going to lose a bunch of my subscribers? Most likely. But then are the ones that I'm going to lose ones that it matters if I lose? That's really tough. And then I'll have to build up again. I don't know. I still don't know. So I'm still debating on whether or not I want to change to MailerLite. But if I do, that's probably the one I would go through. But definitely look at both MailerLite and Kit, and just look into Substack too if that's something that interests you, and kind of see what is the best fit for you. Now, what do you want to put in your email if you've never had a newsletter before? Or even if you do have a newsletter, but you're looking to kind of, increase engagement with it, what are some things that maybe you could add to your newsletter to make it attractive to new subscribers? Well, first of all, They are very personal to you. What you decide to do with your email newsletter is really unique, and it's you, and it needs to be something you are comfortable with, something you want to do. Don't just say, oh, well, I've seen that, this such and such author does this and such author does that. Maybe that's the right formula. The right formula is the one that is best for you. So my suggestion is to really sign up for a whole bunch of different author emails and see which ones you like. What do you want? What attracts you? What makes you interested in this newsletter? And then maybe you can do something similar, or you can steal from 5 or 6 different newsletters and make your own kind of idea of how you want your newsletter to be. Please, please, please feel free to sign up for my newsletter. I'll put a link to it in the description, and so you can see what I do with my newsletter. All right. So things you want to put in your newsletter for sure. Number 1, you are always going to, in every single one of your newsletters, mention whatever book news you've got going on. Even if you've got no book news going on, you want to talk about your book. You want to talk about your new release. If you're going to be doing any signings, you're going to be talking about your work in progress. You're going to be talking about what should I do about this character name. You could even do a little contest with your subscribers and say, hey, what should I name this character? And maybe that way you can get them to engage with you. But you absolutely need to have at least part of your newsletter dedicated to something about your being an author, your book news. Now, other than that, there's all kinds of stuff you can put in there. If you want to add personal stuff, I do, because I want to create a relationship with my readers. So if you look at it, I always have pictures of me, maybe my dog, sunsets, if I'm gardening, some pictures of my gardening. Because I like to make my newsletters personal about stuff that I like, that's interesting to me, and it puts me on a way I can relate to my subscribers in more than just a readership capacity. Other things you could do behind the scenes, like you could talk about things you're struggling with, how you get over writer's block, or how you go through your editing process, or you could put little snippets about, your day-to-day writing activity. You could offer exclusive content, and it doesn't have to be every newsletter. Let's say you put a newsletter out once a month. You could have maybe every 3 or 4 months, or maybe scattered around. You could offer just your subscribers maybe a short story, a link to a short story about some characters from your book that they'll never see anywhere else except through that link through your newsletter, so that they feel special, like they keep coming back to your newsletter because there's something that, they may get if they keep checking their newsletter. Now, short emails, just so you know, are completely acceptable. I know you're gonna be like, I think my email's too short. I don't have a lot to say. But as someone who reads emails, that you appreciate short emails. Like, you don't necessarily need a novel, and you don't even have time. I mean, think of how many emails people get on a daily basis. I know I get like probably 30 or 40 emails every single day. That's a lot to go through. So short emails are not a bad thing. Just kind of keep that in mind. You definitely need to pick a schedule. If you're going to be once a month, if you're going to be every 2 weeks, if you're going to be every 3rd Monday, and stick to that schedule so that your subscribers become accustomed to when to check for your email. Now, one last thing, and this may actually shock some of you. The typical industry rate for opens on an author email, this is going to depress some of you. Typical industry email open rates. Are you ready? 25 to 35%. That is what you can expect to open your email. And if you are getting more than that, like sometimes I get them, it's like 48% or 51%. I mean, I'm like, woo-hoo! But if you are getting below 25%, that means you got to kind of work on your email, because you're shooting for 25 to 35% open rate every time. And that's amazing. I mean, think about it. If you had 1,000 subscribers and you're getting 250 to 350 opening every single time, that is a way better percentage than you are going to get from any of your social media posts, except for, if you have a random one that goes viral. But you might even have an email one that goes viral. You never know about that. But that is what the reality is of the open rate for author newsletters. Now, how are we going to build up those numbers? Well, before I get to that, it's time for crazy law / writing prompt. And if you are new to the podcast, every week I give you a crazy law. And this is a law that once upon a time was a real law in history. And your challenge, should you choose to accept it, is to write a short story based on that law. And this is, just a way to kind of flex your writing muscles, maybe give you a break from your work in progress. So here we go. This week's crazy law. In Hartford, Connecticut, it is illegal to cross a street while walking on your hands. Now, I have no idea why that actually had to be made a law, because I could never do it anyways, but some people can. So whatever, you can have fun with that story. But there we go. But let's get down to it. How can you build your, author email subscribers? Okay. Probably the number one thing I will say, which you will probably see in any kind, if you do a Google search for this, probably the first thing that comes up is to offer some kind of a reader magnet. So something that if they sign up for your newsletter, they get this. Most likely because you're an author, it's going to be some kind of a free short story, a free story about a couple of your characters, one that somebody wouldn't pay for off of Amazon or anything like that. So something unique that only your email subscribers would be privy to. So make sure you have a link that will, once that they sign up for it, you send them the link, or you have an automation that sends them the link to subscribe to this very, short story or whatever it is you are going to do. And you could use something like BookFunnel to help you out with that. If your subscription service or your email service doesn't provide it, MailChimp does. I don't know about MailerLite because I don't have MailerLite, but if they don't, then you can definitely use something like BookFunnel to help you with that kind of an automation. Okay. So you finally have your email, you got it through MailerLite or whoever, and you're ready to go. Chances are you don't really have a huge following already. So let's start with family and friends. Have your family and friends sign up for your newsletter, and then have them, and this is important, have them open every email that you send and engage with it. So try to put a link in every one of your emails. Maybe it could be a link to your social media or a link to something, your Amazon page, and make sure your friends and family are not just opening the email, but clicking on those links. That engagement tells the algorithm, because some email companies, if they get an email that is sent to a group, they automatically put it in the spam folder. But if the email has gotten engagement in the past, there are algorithms for this. Google has a huge one. Then what happens is that the algorithm knows, hey, there's engagement with this email, so it must be legit. Let's not put it in the spam folder. Let's put it in their primary folder. And so that is important. You need engagement with your emails. So have your family and friends open it and then engage with it by clicking on links if you can. Also, if you do have a social media following, even if it's not a very big following, you still want to ask your followers every once in a while to subscribe to your email. Don't, pound it into them, every single week you have it, but do it every once in a while, because sometimes they won't see the last one that you did, 2 months ago. And now they see it, and now maybe they'll click on the link and go sign up for your email. So every once in a while, you do want to put that on your social media to encourage your followers to subscribe to your newsletter. In addition to that, speaking of social media, do put a link to your newsletter sign up, like as a pinned tweet or pinned thread, or even as on top of your Facebook page, a link in your bio if you have like Instagram, but places where it's like right on that page. So if someone goes to your Instagram page, or if they go to your Facebook page, they see the link to sign up for your email right there up at the top. All right. Along those same lines, if you have a website, which I really, really, really hope you all have a website. If you have a website, make sure you have a join my newsletter link on the front page of your website, not something they have to go searching for, right there. So all they have to do is click it and it takes them straight to your sign up page. And don't forget to mention your reader magnet on all of these, on your social media, on your website. Make sure you mention your reader magnet. All right. If you already have a book published, then hopefully you've already claimed your Amazon author page. If you haven't, go to Amazon Author Central and set up your Amazon author page. And once you have that whole set up, if you haven't done it yet, do it. And if you already have it set up, then make sure you add a join my newsletter link in the bio on your Amazon author page. That is yet one more place where readers, if they are interested in seeing what there is about you, may go straight there from Amazon, inside of Amazon, to check you out, and you want the join my newsletter link to be right there at the beginning. All right. If you are already got a book published in your Kindle version, make sure to add a link at the end of the book that says join my newsletter. Now, this doesn't work for everyone. It's kind of hard for like me, just because my readers are like 9 to 12 years old and they don't really have email yet. So it's not as effective for me to do that, but it's certainly going to be effective if you write romance or sci-fi or fantasy or even like a self-help book or memoir. You definitely want a link at the end of your book that would encourage people to sign up for your newsletter so they can kind of keep track of what's going on with you. Because if they loved your book, then you have a good shot of them actually joining your newsletter. If you do events like a book signing, it could be at a coffee shop, it could be at a book festival, or even if if you're doing any kind of a signing or book event or any kind of an author event at all, have a sign up sheet. And here is one thing I will say, depending on like your target audience, if you think your target audience is mostly, women over 50, you might want to have a sign up sheet where they actually write their email in there. But if your target audience is, 20s, 30s, teenagers, having a QR code, maybe having both is a great way to do it, because a lot of people use QR codes. I have the QR code as well. You literally just put the family, and they have their phone and they just, open the camera and click the QR code and it takes them right to the page. And it's actually easier than trying to read their handwriting and hand put in those newsletter links. It's just hard. So I would have some kind of a sign up sheet, preferably with the QR code or both, at any event that you do. And my last suggestion to build up your list is to have a newsletter swap with other authors. And let me explain what that means, because you'll hear about newsletter swaps. That does not mean you swap your subscribers' emails with another author. Do not ever do that. What a newsletter swap is that you on your newsletter will recommend this other author's book with a link to buy that book, and they do the same thing for you. And that way, that shows you to a readership that you've never seen before, and you are exposing your readership, your subscribers, to a book that maybe they've never seen before, and then hopefully you'll get more subscribers that way as well. Well, thank you so much. I hope that some of these are helpful and that you at least came up with maybe an idea or two that you didn't think about before. But those email lists are like gold, because every time you have a book coming up, a book launch coming up, these are people who are going to open those emails. They're most likely going to see them for sure, especially if you have a title that says book launch coming. Then they'll probably get a better rate than 25 to 35%. But again, 25 to 35%. Once you start building up your subscribers, that's a good amount of people that are seeing you and keeping up with you every single month, every single bi-weekly, however you decide to do it. All right. If you enjoyed this, please make sure you subscribe to my podcast. I drop a new episode every week. So until next Wednesday, stay safe, and I will see you all next week.